Welcome back, everybody. Another interview here from Afghanistan on www.talkingwithheroes.com. Also check out our online news site, thankyouforyourservice.us. I am Bob Calvert, the talkingwithheroes.com host, and we are broadcasting from Afghanistan. And first, as with all of our programs, I want to thank the people that made this trip possible. Rob Brazel with returntowork.org, blackhawk.com, freedomhunters.org, newsblaze.com, the number 5jump.com, sportsmanswarehouse.com, Eric Chia in Olathe, Kansas, Colin Clark in Elizabeth, Colorado, militaryconnection.com, soldiersangels.org, and Chief Warrant Officer Retired Dennis McCormack in Colorado Springs. I want to thank all of them for making this trip possible. Would not happen without them. And as with Lieutenant Colonel Michael Forsyth, we've already talked with, who had called in from here on our program back in January, and also our next guest, Captain Matt Frye, also called in on a program from here, talking about the progress that they have been experiencing. And Captain Matt Frye is our next guest here on TalkingWithHeroes.com. Our next guest is Captain Matt Frye. And for those of you who listened to the call-in programs we were doing January and February, Captain Matt Frye was one of them. His wife was on that program, called in. And so it's a privilege now to be in Afghanistan with Captain Matt Frye. Welcome live in person with me and together and TalkingWithHeroes.com.
Well, I'm happy we finally got you here, Bob, and thank you for coming. You're a tremendous asset to our soldiers and actually getting the positive stories of what's going on and what we actually do versus what the mainstream media displays. So,
well, it's a privilege to do this. You know, I feel like my son-in-law served in 2 deployments, and what he's going through right now, this is the least I can do. What you all go through, you know, I tell people when I come over, before that it was Iraq, it's similar here, and I see how you all live. You know, and I feel like that's the least we can do is get your stories out. But I don't tell the stories, you do. And that's the difference. So let's do something now. A lot of people may not have heard you when you called in. Okay? Talk a little bit, go back a little bit on your career, how long you served, and just talk a little bit about your career.
okay. Well, next month in May, I'll hit my 5-year mark where I was commissioned as a field artillery officer. And throughout that time, I did officer basic at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Then actually switched with the slot with a friend who, for some reason, didn't want Italy. So I went from there to the 173rd Airborne Brigade. And from there, I served for 3 years as a fire support officer, basically working with the infantry. And after being in the Army 2 years, we deployed on OEF-8 down to Paktika Province, Afghanistan, where I served as a fire support officer for 15 months in combat. And then came back and helped reset the companies. And from there, I became the Assistant Brigade FSO for 6 months before going to Captain's Career Course. I completed that in September of '09 and came straight to 4th ID, 4th Infantry Brigade, and deployed immediately. Came straight here to Afghanistan, and I'm on my second tour right now.
Okay, well again, thank you for your service, for sure, and your wife, your whole family. When you called in on the program and some of the other people you had come on the program, the majority of the conversation was about reconstruction projects. You were part of the Nuristan Provincial Reconstruction Team. So why don't you kind of go back to what it was like when you got here in the beginning and just talk about some of the projects you worked on.
Okay. Well, right now, each main district has a provincial reconstruction team, and it's a composite of Navy, engineers, Air Force, and some Army soldiers. And their whole purpose is to help the Afghan people. They build orphanages, they build schools, they help build district centers, the roads that Colonel Forsyth was speaking about. And the whole purpose is not to fight or to offensive operations, it's to help the Afghan people. And we didn't see too much of that my first tour. There was a provincial reconstruction team, but they were working on the main cities while I was along the border region and conducting more of offensive operations. But I've seen, say, huge progress in the last 3 years now that I've been here on and off, and seen huge improvements. And they're really helping out the Afghan people, making positive impacts. And I just wish that those stories were getting out more instead of what you see on the mainstream media, because they're like the people who are helping change Afghanistan.
Okay, well, as mentioned earlier with Colonel Forsyth, we're going over there where you were, and we will try to cover as much of those stories as we can and get them on video. But share some of the projects with us. This is the ones that took place in Nuristan.
Oh, there's several of them. Right now, we built several culverts from the bridge, because what you'll see is when you get up to the mountain regions that you have these flash floods from the glaciers up in the Hindu Kush mountains that melt, and the water can rise from 1 inch to 10 feet in less than 5 minutes, where it completely wipes out the road systems, and especially dirt roads and gravel roads. It's going to wash it all away. So they made the first concrete road in Afghanistan, and from down south all the way through Nuristan, it runs right now about 20 kilometers. It's supposed to be, I believe, up to 40 kilometers. So it's a huge improvement, especially when you get to see the mountainous terrain. They built 2 district centers in the last 3 years. You might get to see one of them, and that's basically where the Afghan National Police, the elders, which pretty much run the village with the mayors, and U.S. forces can all meet and talk about governance, talk about development. So that helps out. They've helped build bazaars for free of charge, where shopkeepers can set up their stock, whether they're bringing goats, chickens to sell, cookies for the kids, or jewelry. So they have a place to lock their stock and sell it. They have built, I believe, 3 girls' schools now, and all across the AO Steel. And that's one of the things that you'll get to see is here. I feel pretty bad coming from America, seeing where everyone's treated equally, where the women, once you hit the age of 12, you're cut off. You have to wear a shroud over your face. You can't be educated, can't have a job and all. And we're actually helping expand that for the women and give them more a chance. And actually, when you get up to meet the PRT, they've actually started PRT called Women's Assurance, where they bring in civilian contractors and they train the women, just in whether it could be sewing or pottery, and teaching some of them to read, or they can actually earn a living through their home. And that's going to be a huge improvement for them. They can actually teach a man to fish. You've helped him out for his life. And I'd say there's some boys' schools and also some the mosque kits. That was my last tour. It's a big thing, was helping the mosques out, getting them supplies, whether it be Korans or white paint to paint the mud adobe style houses, and prayer rugs are a huge thing. So we give all those to the people. And I'm trying to think, because there's actually a lot of projects. So say when you get up there, you get more of a grasp on it when you get to meet the actual platoon leaders and the engineers and the NCOs, because that's all they do. And where I sat in the Joint Operations Center running the patrols, monitoring, the guys out there actually seeing and taking pictures and building. So
it's interesting that, maybe I should assume this, but Christians, right, most of them, are helping Muslims with their faith, helping them have the tools and what they need with their faith.
That's right. I just put religion to the side, basically, and it's one fellow man helping out another.
Yeah.
And we help them better their faith, and basically we can work together. Is what I'm proving is, with religion aside, hey, you're just a normal guy trying to make a living. I'm a normal guy from America, and I'm trying to make a living. My job is here to help you, and I'm going to do the right thing and help you out.
Yeah, the concept is real similar. What we're asking Americans to do is put politics aside and supporting our troops and their families. And we can do that. You're doing it here. It's great.